Sup people? My name is Radu, I'm a street photographer from Romania. I make videos like this on the YouTubes, and this is 1,000 words, my little corner of the interwebs. This is a fresh cup of Ethiopian Arabica, very soft, very flavorful at the same time, very suave and fruity, almost sweet, although I take my coffee black with no sugar, as all sane people should. There shouldn't be any sugar in coffee, ever. Or milk, for that matter. Today, we're talking about this guy right here, the Fuji film X-T2, and a few things that really bug me about this camera. Before getting into the meat and potatoes of this video, kindly consider supporting my work here. Like, subscribe, comment down below. It sure helps and I enjoy receiving your comments. I read all of them. There's also Buy Me a Coffee and the PayPal link down below if you're feeling generous and want to throw a buck or two down my way. It's sure going to be appreciated. Now, I will start off by saying this is my favorite camera ever. I have never used a camera I enjoy shooting as much as this. I love it so much that I'm selling it. Yeah, you heard that right. I love it so much that I'm selling it, and I'm selling it because I want more of it. More of it being the X-T3. But before I do, I'm still going to enjoy the shit out of this. Pardon the French. Not long ago, made a video, find it here, or there. A video where I talked about 8 small things that mean a lot. 8 little things that make this a wonderful camera. Now today I'm going to take the opposite approach. I want to start nitpicking at it, and I want to talk about a handful of things that bug me about this camera. Probably the biggest reason for its popularity is the control scheme, the lack of the PASM dial, and the addition of a dedicated ISO, shutter speed, and aperturing as physical controls of the camera. While fantastic in every way, there is a way where these are lacking. The buttons are when in their lock position, because these buttons in the center of them lock them. Not so much when they're unlocked, but surely when they're locked, they're a bit wobbly. You can wobble them. You can wobble them from side to side. And now I remember my Sony A7. Now I remember my Sony A7R2, even the R1. The dial on the top plate felt like they were unbreakable, invincible. They felt really solid, really great. And these, for all the added functionality they offer, they feel a bit flimsy and somehow loose. They wobble from side to side, they have a bit of give. Furthermore, these color rings at the base of the ISO and aperture rings, the drive mode dial and the photometry dial are really hard to operate. It's like mandatory to keep fingernails long because you simply cannot grab these little tabs with the tips of your fingers, and you really need fingernails, and long fingernails are kind of ugh. So it's really hard to operate. The shutter button has a bit of a reputation of being easily breakable. Now, I have an X-T2, my wife has an X-T2. I love this camera so much that I had her get one. I mean, I bought it for her for a really good price, but that's a story for another video. My point is that both these cameras have the same issue in a slightly different manner. Now, this is the body that was initially hers. Mine traveled all the way back to Germany, to MPB, where I got it from, to be serviced. Now, a shutter button usually has two stages. The first half press, in order to acquire focus, and the second half press to trigger and take the actual picture. Now, on what was my unit, which is now in Germany, there was no longer any first half press. The button became very mushy, and while functionality was still there, a single very light brush or touch of the button would acquire focus, and there was no more of that distinctive two-stage shutter I love this camera so much for. Now, there's supposedly a membrane that easily breaks in this button, so I've been told that's the issue. This body was the second X-T2 I acquired, the one I acquired for my wife and succinctly confiscated because I can't be left without a camera. She can go weeks or months without taking pictures, so I kind of confiscated it. This has, in a much less of a serious manner, has the same issue. A bit on the opposite side, I would say. The shutter button on this camera has a very distinctive two-stage shutter, but if not pressed exactly on the middle, it can feel like sticky, it can feel like it grabs, and there's a bit of a resistance, and you really have to push it or just readjust your finger on it. Now, a few drops of isopropylic alcohol and some really insistent blowtorch and compressed air action on the shutter button seems to have fixed it like 95% of the times. But sometimes, if you grab it just on the lip of it, it will stick on the side, somewhere inside the barrel of the shutter button, and not go all the way down in order to take the image. Let me check my notes and see if there's anything more. Yeah, the front and back dials, the command dials, while great as far as functionality goes, they can do this. And they also can be pressed in order to, this one does zoom magnifying. Well, it does whatever you want it to because it's very adjustable, very customizable, but they, not so much on this unit, which is in much better shape than mine was, but they kind of feel mushy, a bit squishy. The other buttons are very sunken in. They're very shallow. You really have to kind of push them hard in order to be sure there was a press there. For all its wonderful qualities, I really do have to stress this time and time again. This is my favorite camera ever, out of all the cameras I've tried. And there have been a few, not a lot, but a few. This is by far the one I enjoy shooting the most. I love it. But I have to be fair about it. The buttons could do with some improvement. The single button that I feel is just right is the joystick, and I love having it. One other gripe I have with this camera is the fact that the rubber silicone around the viewfinder is it's very soft to the touch, but it just gathers a lot of dust, especially if I'm wearing the camera on a neck strap across my body. It gathers dust like crazy, and it becomes very gross. Now I know this is such a small thing, but that's why it's called nitpicking, because we're picking at it. It's stuff I have a problem with, it's stuff that bugs me. These small ears are really very small, and to make matters worse, Fuji has decided that perhaps this metal is not hard enough. They inserted some metal rings inside of it, probably to prevent wear from metal on metal friction, but they are so small that it's really impossible to use these big design anchor links with it. So I had to take a bit of a brute force approach and remove those steel rings inside to be left with just barely enough space to put these in. And even now, I think being so tight, there's extra friction, and I just recently had to throw one of these anchor links away because it had gotten so worn out that I think it was going to break soon. Oh, Fuji, why aren't you making these things larger? Really? Moving on to the Wi-Fi functionality and the app. Now, the Wi-Fi is very finicky, very slow, and the app is almost useless. It's terrible, it's practically garbage. Now, the one good use I have out of it is transferring photos off of my camera onto my phone. And that works. Slowly, very slowly. It does work, but it's really slow, it's painfully slow. And these are not big files, and I'm not transferring the RAWs, I'm just transferring the JPEGs, which is about 15 to 17 megs a file, and it takes minutes, several minutes to transfer them. This is where the good things end about the Wi-Fi functionality and the app. And it's not very good in the first place. I mentioned the Wi-Fi is finicky and capricious, and it's true because first you have to set up a link between your phone and the camera, and you have to register the phone on the camera, make it impossible to access the camera with another phone. Like sometimes my wife tries to download photos I take of her on her phone from my camera, which is really impossible unless you delete your initially registered phone and re-register another phone on the camera and reset the Wi-Fi settings on the camera, and that's a pain in the behind. Furthermore, the app is really clunky and pretty much useless for anything as far as live view shooting. First of all, because once a connection has been established, no change of these settings here, like say you would go and change the ISO or the shutter speed, none of these changes translate visually into the app. They do make a change in the camera, but you're not aware of it if you're only judging by the settings on the app UI. You can change the settings from within the app, but they should, I mean, there's a connection between these two. Why doesn't it reflect in the app? It just boggles the mind how the camera app can be, the smartphone app can be so bad. What's even more frustrating is arbitrarily limiting certain functionality to certain shooting modes. Now, it's all fine and dandy. You can tap on the touchscreen of your phone to pick the focus point, but only in photo mode. Once you switch to video mode, there's no ability to do that. And that's where it's most important, because I would perhaps like to use this as a camera shooting myself for these videos. I have to trust the AFC, which is good but not perfect. I have to just pray and hope I'm in focus because the screen doesn't flip out. Not that I would want to, but I would want to be able to use my phone, the live view mode on the phone, to press on my ugly face and lock the focus on my damn ugly face. Why, Fuji? Why are you such a great camera with such a terrible piece of crap garbage app? Still on the matter of video, which I don't do a lot of, but I do want to mention that the 10-minute recording limit as far as 4K 60 goes, I think is just a bit of arbitrary crap. Okay, I would totally get behind it being limited to normal mode operation, but since this camera allows switching it to boost mode, why not allow it to increase the limit to 30 minutes per clip? Why? To prevent overheating? Well, that's what the boost mode is for, to boost the operation of the camera. Sure, it overheats. So what? Let it overheat. Let me decide that I want to allow my camera to go into boost mode, to operate in a boosted manner, and overheat a little if it does, and shoot 30 minutes per clip. This is by no means a slow camera. Sure, it's only got a dual-core processor inside of it, but I'm sure it can do 4K 60 in body without a grip, but Fuji have just decided not to allow this. I think this is simply ridiculous. Okay, don't allow 30 minutes per clip in normal mode, but I would really think it should be allowed in boost mode. That said, and seeing how all these are really minor things, nothing about image quality, nothing about high ISO performance, which is great, nothing about autofocus, which not as good as the X-T2, is still fantastic. Really, I'm getting more keepers than I ever did. The F2 Fuji Crons are really fast, really responsive, really great at autofocusing. All these gripes are minor things, and that just goes to show this is a wonderful, great, fantastic, absolutely splendid piece of camera equipment. I love it to bits, and seeing how all I have to complain about is really trivial, really minor stuff. It just kind of feels like I've only done this video for the sake of content. It's just a testament of how fantastic this camera is. Yeah. I'm unashamedly, undoubtedly, decidedly, incurably a Fujifilm fanboy. This has been 5 things that bug me about the X-T2. This has been Radu. This has been 1000 Words. Until next time, farewell.